Hello guys, my name is Devish and welcome to my channel. This is the 15th lecture on the series Python for Beginners, and in this lecture we will talk about Boolean data types. So here I am at the PyCharm. Let us create one file to see Boolean's data type in Python. Let me name this file as learning Boolean and hit enter. So a Boolean data type has only two values, which are true and false. So the casing for this true and false is the T and F both should be in caps and the remaining letters should be in small case. Casing is very important. In programming, we often need to evaluate whether a condition is true or false. So suppose if I have a variable, say a is equal to 100 and b is equal to 23, and I want to evaluate whether a is greater than b. So what I can do is I can evaluate print of a greater than b, and let me run this program to see what we get. We are getting a true here, meaning that a is actually greater than b. Now let us reduce the value of a and rerun this program. At this point of time we get false, meaning that a is smaller than b. So this is the primary use of Python. This is the primary use of Boolean in Python to evaluate an expression, and likewise we can evaluate any expression and see whether it returns true or false. Now if I want to evaluate whether a is equal to b, so what I can do is I can say a double is equal to b. The double is equal to is used to evaluate the check for equality, and let's run this file. So we are getting a false here, meaning that a is not equal to b. Let's make a is equal to 23 and rerun this file, and now we get true, meaning that a and b are same. So that's how we can evaluate an expression by using Boolean data type. Now let us discuss an inbuilt function in Python called as bool. This function is also used to evaluate an expression. For instance, say if I want to evaluate whether or not x is equal to an empty string, and I want to evaluate whether it carries any string value or not. So by default, string must have some value to return true, and an empty string will always return false. So if I want to evaluate this x, what I can do is I can write bool, and in bracket I can write x and put this entire thing into a print statement and run this program, and I get false, meaning that x is an empty string. Now let me put some value here and rerun this, and this time I get true. To give a real life scenario, let us think of a login page where user enters a username and it gets assigned to a variable called as username, and in our Python program we want to evaluate whether username is a valid string or not. So valid string is any string having a value, and invalid string is an empty string, because we don't want to have an empty string assigned to a username. So let's now imagine that user has entered a value and it is empty string. This value is now assigned to username, and I am going to evaluate this username using bool function and run this program, and I get false, meaning that user has not entered a valid string. In bool function, by default most of the values are evaluated to true if they carry some content. Like for example, let us say x is equal to 1 2 3 inside a list, and let's evaluate this expression. Let's run this program. It gives us true, meaning that x has content inside it. Now let's remove the content and rerun the program. This time we get false, meaning that X is an empty list. Let's do the same thing for tuple and evaluate it. We get the same result. Let's put some value 1, 2 and run this. This time we get true. And likewise it goes in the similar manner for set and for dictionary as well. All these data type list, set, dictionary, tuple and string, if they have value inside it, they are going to return as true, or else it will return as false. Now let's take numbers into consideration. Let's say X is equal to 12 and run this. We are going to get true. Now let's make X is equal to 0 and run this. We are going to get false. Now let's take a negative number and run this. We will again get true, meaning that only if a number is equal to 0, in that case we are going to get false, and for rest all other cases we are going to get true. So these were some of the examples on the usage of bool function. It is very handy while programming. So that's all for this lecture, and I'm gonna see you at the next lecture, where we will have a brief revision of all the data types what we have learned so far. Thanks for watching.